Does anybody have any last thoughts?
I've got a final wrap-up question for everyone. It can be just a quick answer. I'm curious about everybody. If your villain in your story has a love interest and or if they get any action.
I'll tackle that one. Yes. Here's more spoilers for you. But Nola, I mentioned he's married. So he's married. He's recently married, and everything. When we first meet him, he's out on a hunt, and he's showing his brother, how to go hunting. He's kind of like, trying to teach him to do stuff and get him to be interested. But his mind is totally focused on that fact that he's a newlywed. He's looking to go back to his wife and everything. And then actually what happens is when he spoilers, when he gets back, he's found this artifact, and through some curious events or whatever, he ends up killing her with this artifact. And right? And it happened right after. So they have this big argument. It leads to them, having sex. It was one of those anger sex kind of things, and consensual. Don't get me wrong, consensual, but like getting out their frustrations in different ways. And it's not very graphic, but still that kind of happens. And then she dies shortly after. And then through the rest of the story, she's haunting him in this way, and she's seducing him, although it's just in his head. She's seducing him, she's whispering in his ear, she's telling him these things, and so she's tempting him and also using a motive of, keep doing these things, and one day you'll be powerful enough, we can be back together again. And so getting her back is a lot of his motive, along with the other things I've kind of talked about. Yeah, he totally gets some in the beginning.
Is she the voice of the artifact?
At times that's kind of what you're led to believe, is that you're left to kind of wonder whether or not it's the artifact speaking, who has its own voice. It has its own voice for sure, but then you kind of wonder, is it also manifesting as this, as his dead wife? Because what happens over time is that he and the artifact start butting heads and disagreeing on things, and he says, enough is enough, I'm not going to be your slave, I'm not going to do these things you're telling me to do. But then he starts getting similar things from his dead wife, so he begins to wonder, is it just another manifestation, or am I just going crazy? So, and when I get to the end of the novel, I'll figure out what it actually is. I think I've got an idea, but things change, right?
Right. That's awesome. Sounds like Lost. Hopefully it won't end up like that.
No, I definitely won't. No, not at all.
Yeah. My characters, two of them, no action whatsoever because they're Torth. They're not allowed to have sex. They'll be killed if they do. But the third one...
if I were Torth, I think I'd kill myself right after that.
Yeah. Life sucks as a Torth, That's why they've got a very, very poor outlook on things. But yeah, one of them... So basically... Some Torth, they kind of wiggle their way around the rules, and Earth is kind of like a place where some Torth will go to get their kicks, in secret, of course. So they're deviants if they do this, because humans are we're like apes to them, kind of. We're like these primitive, disgusting creatures. So if they have sex with us, it's kind of like you're having sex with a chimpanzee. So one of them does do things like that, but of course, she can't let anyone find out. It's her crazy little secret. She's a deviant. And she has a clone sister who was killed for doing that.
Isn't the queen, is it? The queen of all living things?
It's not the commander of all. She's too old for sex, my God. She's 140. She'd fall apart if she had sex.
120.
140 is the new 110,
Yeah. She might have when she was younger, but she's certainly not going to let you know about it. Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things where most Torth don't even get the opportunity to do this in the first place. You've got to be a pretty powerful Torth to even be able to go to Earth and hide your thoughts to that degree. It's not like every Torth can do.
Well, my guy is he's in his 50s, 60s, and he was married at one point, no children. So that sort of thing is past him now. And, it's kind of, I don't know how important it was for him to, how important it ever was to him, but in a larger sense, he's feeling his mortality now, and that also drives a lot of his actions. That's something that you kind of discover later in the novel, is he realizes he's not going to be able to do this for too much longer, and the age and infirmity are starting to creep up on him. So, in a larger sense, that's a concern. But yeah, as far as him and Kevin getting any action, it's been a few decades for him.
Yeah, and he's on a prison planet. So.
No wonder he's so grumpy.
Yeah,
you can understand. We're getting back to identifying with our antagonists there.
yeah, but not necessarily due to age. Speaking as the panelist who's probably the oldest here, 2 to 3 decades on all of you. And my character doesn't get any, or the villainess does not. The hero does, but the villainess does not.
The hero. Well, in draft 1 of my novel, my villain did not. In draft 2, he gets some action. He has 2 specifically named lovers. One of them ends up working against him in the end. The other one is actually his co-antagonist, who in the first version was not an antagonist. Abby, since you read it, it's Anita. And she basically offers sex in trade with him for him wanting her to cooperate with his plans at essentially framing Maynard. So she kind of uses him. And then the outcome of that is a major plot point in the sequel. And I will leave it at that.
Yeah, I think I know what that is. Well, that's a good question, about the sex thing. Because, it is kind of interesting how a lot of our characters, our villains, don't have sex. I wonder if that's why they're evil. Probably not.
Well, in my case, I decided to give him some lovers because he's an alpha male, and I just wanted to make him more alpha.
Well, it sounds like all of us, like our characters are at least, except, for the most part, a lot of our characters seem to have some hang-ups about sex. Like they're ashamed of it, or they've got a dead wife talking to them, or or they've been tortured into submission, or they're just old and cranky. It's funny. They do seem to have some hang-ups. Any other thoughts? No? Okay, so thank you all for coming onto my show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice talking to you guys.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Guys.
Bye.